Have you ever noticed that when you start to change, really change the world around you, doesn't clap? It flinches. People don't always say it out loud. Instead, they joke. They offer advice disguised as concern. They go silent the moment you talk about something real, something deep, something that threatens the fragile structure of their comfort zones. And why? Because your evolution confronts their complacency. Perhaps that's exactly where you are now. You've started thinking for yourself, questioning what once felt normal, acting in ways that don't fit the old mold, and suddenly you find yourself alone, misunderstood, judged, maybe even mocked. But here's the truth. No one told you this is the price of a strong mind. Not just strong in appearances, not the strength of a social mask or a motivational quote, but the kind of inner strength that radiates without permission, without apology. The kind that makes others uncomfortable not because you're cruel, but because your presence exposes the illusions they're still living in. A powerful mind threatens mediocrity. And Nietzsche knew this. When you begin to think independently, create your own values, and reject the sugar-coated comfort of secondhand truths, you become dangerous. Dangerous to the systems that prefer obedience. Dangerous to those who've never dared to question themselves. And most dangerously, you become a threat to your former self. This video is not a comfort zone. It's a call, a challenge. A challenge for anyone tired of being a prisoner of their insecurities. For those who feel on the brink of internal transformation, who can sense that something within is about to break or be rebuilt. You're not here to stay the same. You're here to build a mind no one can control, to create a spirit that no one can fracture. If you're ready for that journey, one that is often lonely, always demanding, but undeniably liberating, then stay. Because what Nietzsche taught can set you free. But first it will confront you. And once you understand it, you'll never think the same way again. Nietzsche wasn't just a philosopher, he was a surgeon of the soul. Someone who looked directly into the abyss and didn't flinch, he dove in. And in that inner abyss where most people turn away, he found the raw material for greatness. He believed that it's not in stability or peace where transformation happens, it's in chaos, in the fall, in the breaking. You must have chaos within you to give birth to a dancing star. That wasn't just poetry, that was diagnosis. You want to build an unshakable mind? Then throw away the childish fantasy that it comes through ease, positivity, or affirmation alone. True strength is born when you face suffering and refuse to run. When you stop asking for a lighter load and start asking for a stronger back. Think about it. When did you grow the most? When life was easy, or when you were broken, uncertain, and had to rebuild yourself piece by piece? Nietzsche didn't romanticize pain. He honored it as a tool, as the fire in which character is forged. If you can change your relationship with pain, if you can learn to walk through failure, loneliness, and loss, you begin to shape something rare, a mind that doesn't collapse, a spirit that doesn't break. And that's when you become a problem for the world. Because while most flee from chaos, you walk into it. While others worship normalcy, you create magnificence. But don't be fooled. This path demands a total break with what you were taught about strength. Being strong is not about faking a smile. It's not about keeping it together while you're breaking inside. It's not about acting like you're always in control. Real strength is surviving the unbearable and emerging more dangerous, more focused, more alive. But Nietzsche also warned chaos alone isn't enough. You can be swallowed by it unless you find an inner center, an anchor. That's why in the next part of Nietzsche's philosophy, he does something radical. He kills God. And with that one declaration, he places the full weight of meaning on your shoulders. When Nietzsche said God is dead, he wasn't celebrating. He was warning. He wasn't talking about theology. He was talking about illusions. The illusion that there's someone above watching over everything. That life has a built-in plan. That pain will make sense one day because it's part of some higher scheme. No, Nietzsche rips away that comfort and says it's you now. There's no divine author writing your story. No cosmic justification coming. You are the author. You are the meaning. You are the one who must choose what is good, what is beautiful, what is worth fighting for. This is the beginning of a true mind, unshakable, because it has stopped waiting to be saved. Most people collapse when they realize they are alone in a world without a map. But not you, because if you've made it this far, it means you are ready. Ready to carry the weight of your freedom. Ready to create your own values, not inherit someone else's. ready to become the kind of person who no longer asks, "What should I do?" but declares, "This is what I choose." This is radical autonomy. And yes, it's heavy. There's no more salvation. There's only transformation. Either you build yourself or you vanish into a life that was never truly yours. But here's the twist, the very thing that terrifies you. Your freedom is also your greatest strength. Because when you stop waiting for rescue, something ignites inside you. A fire, a force, a clarity that compels you to rise even while bleeding. That dares you to take responsibility for your mind, your heart, your actions, not because someone told you to, but because you've claimed yourself. This is the journey Nietzsche laid before us, not a journey of comfort, a journey of conquest. And your mind, when it wakes up, will never go back to sleep again. So stay tuned, because in the next part, we go even deeper into what it takes to live as someone who doesn't just survive the world, but recreates it, one unshakable thought at a time. Now that we've stripped away illusions and stood face to face with the raw weight of existence, Nietzsche doesn't leave us in despair. No, he prepares us for something even greater. A transformation so profound it redefines what it means to be human. In the rubble of collapsed beliefs, he lays the foundation for a new way of being, not guided by fear, not chained by the herd, but ruled by the will to power. A new kind of human emerges from this spiritual earthquake, the Übermensch, the Overman. And if your mind has survived the previous steps, you're ready to meet him. Because to build a mind that no one can break, you must become someone the world can no longer define. Nietzsche didn't believe in passive, slow evolution. He believed in rupture, in explosions of inner will, in the courageous destruction of all that is borrowed, fake, and inherited. That's why he gave us the Übermensch, not as a fantasy, but as a call. Not as a superhero, but as a challenge. The Übermensch is not mystical. He's not born with divine gifts. He is forged by pain, by solitude, by the refusal to be anyone's echo. He is the one who has overcome what keeps the average soul in chains: guilt, obedience, the desperate craving to belong. He doesn't beg to be accepted. He doesn't ask for permission to live. He creates his own values, his own law, and he follows it even if the entire world stands against him. This is why the Übermensch is so powerful, because his strength does not rely on applause, on likes, on agreement. It is self-contained, self-fed. His spirit is powered by the will to power, the unstoppable drive to shape life according to his vision. This is the pivot point. The Übermensch doesn't adapt to the world, he reshapes it. He doesn't ask, "Is this allowed?" He asks, "Is this worthy of me?" When you flip that switch in your mind, everything changes. Your questions change, your focus changes. You stop asking what others think and start asking what you demand of yourself. And here's the brutal truth, becoming this kind of human is not for the faint of heart. It requires sacrifice. You will have to kill the parts of yourself that still beg for praise, that still fear rejection, that still want to be liked. And that will feel like dying, because it is. It's the death of the borrowed identity, the death of your dependency on the herd, and what is born from that death is real, you. But this process is lonely. Nietzsche knew that better than anyone. He walked it himself, misunderstood, mocked, left on the fringes of the very world he sought to awaken. And yet it was in that loneliness that he discovered his freedom. You need to know this. The higher you rise, the fewer people will understand you. The stronger your mind becomes, the more you will disturb those still living in slumber. This is the price. To build an unshakable self, you must tear down everything inside you that wasn't yours to begin with. All the hand-me-down beliefs, the cultural lies, the personality traits you adopted just to survive in a system that punished authenticity. And only after the destruction can true construction begin. But don't expect it to happen in the spotlight. It doesn't. It happens in silence, in solitude, in the moments where you feel forgotten by the world but are finally remembered by yourself. This is the realm of the Übermensch, not where the crowd applauds, but where your soul breathes for the first time. In the next chapter, we'll dive into the most neglected and most essential ingredient in this entire process: solitude. Because the truth no one wants to hear is this: if you want to become unshakable, you must learn to walk alone. And few, very few, are ready for that. But if you are, stay. Because what's coming next will change how you see loneliness forever. And it might just become your greatest strength. In the last chapter, we witnessed the birth of the Ubermensch, the one who walks above borrowed values, who creates meaning from within. But there's a consequence no one warns you about. Once you rise above the herd, you'll find yourself alone. Not because you've chosen isolation, but because the world no longer knows what to do with you. Let's be honest, real freedom isn't glamorous. It doesn't come with applause or admiration. It comes with silence, with distance, with the kind of loneliness that makes most people run back to the safety of their masks. Nietzsche understood this better than anyone. He wrote not for the many, but for the few, for the ones willing to walk into the desert of solitude and come out with fire in their eyes. And that fire is not rage, it's clarity. The more you break from the herd, the more you'll be called strange, arrogant, distant. They'll say you've changed. They'll whisper that you're cold. And maybe you are, but not because you've lost your heart. It's because you've stopped offering it to those who only want to shape it into something they can understand. If you cannot understand loneliness, you are not ready for freedom. Because all true freedom demands the abandonment of emotional crutches, those illusions of connection that are built on convenience, not truth. The world teaches you to seek belonging. Nietzsche challenges you to seek becoming. And becoming by its very nature is a solitary act. So what happens next? Once you've stepped out of the herd, you'll begin to see things others can't. You'll spot the mediocrity not just in others, but in your former self. And it will sicken you. Because the cost of awareness is the inability to return to ignorance. This is where the second force comes in confrontation with collective mediocrity. Nietzsche didn't fear tyrants, he feared consensus. The kind of soft tyranny that emerges when the crowd decides what's acceptable and punishes anyone who steps outside the line. Real tyranny doesn't come from the top. It comes from the sides, from the people around you who want you to remain just like them so they never have to change. When your mind sharpens and your presence deepens, you become a threat. Not because you're violent or loud, but because you've stopped needing the things that keep others in chains. You no longer beg to be liked. You no longer dance for approval. You no longer mirror the crowd. And that is terrifying. Collective mediocrity has a way of turning strength into sin. It calls confidence the arrogance. Ambition becomes selfishness. Autonomy becomes coldness. It doesn't want to elevate the weak, it wants to punish the strong. So when you rise, expect resistance. It won't always be loud. Sometimes it's subtle, a glance, a joke, an awkward silence. But make no mistake, it's war. A war not fought with weapons, but with shame, exclusion, and guilt. They want you to shrink, to come back, to apologize for growing. But Nietzsche would say, do not shrink, stand. Because your presence, the unshaken presence of someone who has forged themselves, is a threat to everything that is fake. And this, more than anything, is why solitude becomes your sanctuary. Not because you hate people, but because you've outgrown their games. Not because you want isolation, but because you demand truth. To be strong is to endure being misunderstood. To build an unshakable mind is to accept that you will disturb those who refuse to evolve. And this disturbance, it's not the byproduct. It's the proof you're doing something right. Now we prepare for the final ascent. In the next chapter, we will reveal the ultimate awe and the ultimate reward of building a mind so strong that no one can break it. Because yes, the cost is high, but the power is eternal. You've walked the desert. You've felt the silence of true solitude. You've endured the war waged by collective mediocrity. And now you stand here not untouched, but unbent. What comes next isn't comfort, it's clarity. Because from here on out, the world will either try to silence you or be silenced by your presence. Nietzsche never set out to build an audience. He set out to shake the foundations of what it means to be human. He didn't want followers. He wanted internal revolutions. He wanted to ignite earthquakes inside of you, so violent, so undeniable, that you would never again crawl for approval, never again beg for permission to think, to feel, to be. He wanted to burn the need for validation out of you. And now you feel that fire, don't you? That internal unrest, that slow, seething power rising within. The power of someone who no longer needs applause to feel alive. Someone who no longer finds safety in the herd, but sovereignty in their own skin. Because once you become untamed, once you stop filtering your truth to protect others' comfort, something extraordinary happens. You become dangerous. Not dangerous in the way society fears violence, but dangerous in the way that light is dangerous to darkness. Your mere presence becomes disruptive. Your silence becomes loud. Your clarity becomes a mirror, and most people aren't ready to see what's staring back at them. And so they resist. They ridicule. They withdraw. But none of it matters anymore, does it? Because you've realized that a voice built in truth never needs to shout. A presence grounded in conviction doesn't need to explain. And silence, when it comes from a place of awareness, not fear, is the most disarming force in existence. This is the point of no return. And now I ask something of you, not for me, but for yourself. Drop your disguise. Speak one truth you have been hiding. Right now, write it in the comments. Say the thing that feels dangerous to say, not to provoke, but to reclaim. A belief, an insight, a wound. Whatever it is you've been afraid to reveal, bring it to the light. This is part of the process. This is the ritual of becoming. Because power without voice is just potential, and voice without action is just noise. If you've made it this far, it's not by accident. It means something in you has already begun to shift. Your vision is clearer. Your spine is straighter. The lies you used to live under, they no longer hold. And you're not here for comfort. You're here for liberation. So don't stop now. The next chapter isn't just a continuation, it's a confrontation. A final confrontation with everything in you that still hesitates, that still clings, that still doubts. Keep going. You are not lost. You're simply ahead. And yes, that's lonely. But it's also sacred. Because in a world that lives asleep, your awakening is the revolution.